You can't be Harkin? Oh. Hey, hang on, wait a moment. You're one of Faery's knights, Harkin, right? Lord Hector. You're one of Lord Elbert's sworn men, right? I heard all his knights died on Valor. Why didn't you return and report to Eliwood? I felt in my duty to protect my sworn lord. I am not worthy of the honor of being a knight of Faery. Before Nurgle's magic, we were annihilated. When Lord Elbert was taken away, I was powerless. That dog Nurgle. I heard he shared some connections to the Black Fang. Searched the continent for signs of them. Intended to strike against them with my final breath. And now you are here. You can fight with us, Harkin. Eliwood is here as well. Forgive me, Lord Hector. I'd rather die a knight than live in shame. I will trade my life for many of theirs. Hold on, Harkin. You think that's what Lord Albert would ask of? Not from Faery, so it may not be my place to say, but Eliwood waited for you, for any of you to return. Lord Eliwood. Eliwood is in a war. If you are a true knight of Faery, you need to be at his side. I understand. My life is his. May it serve him better than it served his father. Alright. You're so close to being done. Not even funny. Oh, so close. Run away, Legault! Run away! We'll let Will handle this. Or who can stop Will? That's right, Will completely blocked him out of the tree. Will to the right, tree to the left. Nothing can stop us now. So those are some pretty good stats for Eliwood. He is pretty balanced. Skill, speed, strength, HP versus his underclass max, which is 20. He's at 13. When he classes up, not all of his stats are going to suddenly double to 40. In fact, most of them are going to be closer to, like, I don't know. Gravesword is very dangerous. I also need a thief to unlock these boxes. And then behind one of the doors, not the one I've unlocked, not the two I've unlocked so far, 3 I've unlocked so far, one of the remaining 3 rooms has the boss in it. I know which one it is, or I think I remember which one it is. The one that's got a Myrmidon standing in front of it. But there are some treasures yet in the other ones. So that is what we will do. We will get treasure. So if you'd like to turn your ears off till the end of the episode, I will not get angry because I'm gonna do a little bit of griping here about said life, my life that is. There's not anything in particular that I'm like super mad at because it's mostly stuff that I can't control. But the company I work for is a little bit backwards in terms of how they do their processes, inventory, the whole 9 yards. Now, I've not worked in many places. I've worked retail, which is mostly where these thoughts are coming from, and it's for a company that you would know. I mean, it'd be like it's like working for well, the company I work for right now is not, but like it'd be like working kind of like for McDonald's, where each McDonald's franchise is the same as all of the others, and they're all independently run. But at the same time, like, you go to a McDonald's in Alabama or Pennsylvania or California, you should get roughly the same experience every time, food-wise, service-wise, etc. Because there's set standards. So, one of the things that I don't think we do well, and I understand because of the nature of the company. We're not a known substance like McDonald's is. You're sort of trying to not only convince your customer base of the value of your product, but also you're trying to build a lasting customer support base, okay? So in certain ways, you can't exactly, tell someone to basically go get bent, because there are probably other places that they can go to for similar services. Now, that being said, the other end of things is we've got a bit of a problem where we're not making. Oh, good, he's finally at 20. We're not making the kind of profit margin that I feel comfortable with. Essentially, at the end of the year, after you take everything we bought, everything we sold, wages, insurance, benefit, whatever you want to call them, and you add them all up, and you subtract what you brought in versus what went out, we end up either breaking even, losing a little bit of money, or making a little bit of money. And by a little bit of money, I mean like for a company that does, several millions of dollars, per year, like, in the ballpark of $17 to $20 million a year, you would imagine that even at a small percentage of, say, 10%, at the end of the year, you would be left with, $10,000, $100,000, of profit funds that can be then taken into the following year and used in R&D, or you could use it for profit sharing, or you could, do something like a repair that you've been putting off, or an improvement you've been putting off because, this isn't an example at my place of work, but it could be an example at other places where, you've got a factory and the parking lot's starting to degrade a little bit, so you wait another year or two, let it degrade a little bit more to make it really worth your while to replace it. But at the end of the day, you either have to factor that into your profits minus your expenses for that year, or you have to use the profits you made the prior year to help pay that off or pay that down, or do something of that nature that isn't something you could put off for another year or two. You do now because you have the extra funds. So that's sort of the base problem that I'm running into. Go, Wraith. Be a big boy. Yay, Wraith. Became a nomad trooper, which I've never used before. So we're gonna give them a try. I'm gonna give Wraith a try. So again, getting back to, money makes the world go round sort of thing, is, the way our processes are kind of old school, and we kind of at the very base we need some extra capital coming in order to allow us to invest in upgrades to our programs to help increase efficiency, okay? Now, obviously, you could say that the promise of increased efficiency will result in cost savings over the long term. Yeah, that's fine and dandy, but you know, for a company that does not have ample amount of money to invest, if that gamble doesn't pay off, then you're kind of stuck holding the bill for that, and no one wants that. So again, the need to make a higher profit margin is by far one of the things that I would say is the first of the old school mentality that needs to go away. And again, it's easier for me to talk Saturday morning armchair CEO coach than actually being there day in and day out with the players and the coaching staff, making sure that things go right on game day. But you know, the company really ought to look over everything that's coming in and everything that's going out, and you know, do the basics, which is cut costs where we can cut costs. If that's not possible, then we need to raise our prices so that we're pulling in, whatever margin is acceptable. I'm not a MBA by any stretch of imagination, but we'll just say 10, 20, 5%, I don't care what it is, of your whatever you sold, 5% of that is out and out profit. After you've paid everybody, you've given everybody the money for their wages and benefits and, expenditures for material and machines and everything, all that other fun jazz. Okay? You get that all done. It's all off the table. You end up with, I would say, a flat 10, 20% more than you had than when you started. Okay. Because then from there, you start to invest in other things that brings our company more up to speed. Now, again, supply and demand, blah, 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 whatever you want to say, sort of the basis of all this. If you say, I think my product's worth $100, they say, fuck you, it's not worth $100, then, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because you've essentially created this universe where you think you're worth more than you actually are, and you're missing out on potential sales. On the other hand of that is, if, the thing I always hear is the market will dictate. Well, you won't know what the market dictates until you're willing to say, hey, we want to make, in your mind, in your private meetings, you want to make 10%, 20%. And so you make that sort of a point, a pressure point where you say, we want to raise our prices by 10%. Not only to keep up with inflation, but also so that we're making more money. And in this day and age, particularly as a purchasing person, where I see prices going up quarterly, not 10% or more, but they're going up $1 here, $1 there, $5 here, 10% at the end of the year. I think it's ridiculous that we continue to spend money and we don't want to raise our prices because we're afraid either the competition will come in under us, or that people will stop buying our goods. And everything we're doing right now, it seems to undervalue the cost of materials, the cost of labor. It's just from what I understand, it's just built into a lot of the numbers to make it in some ways show that a product should cost less than it does, so that when we charge $1,000 for it, it looks better than it actually is. In reality, $15 an hour times, say 2 hours, that's $30 of labor, plus machine, burden, that fun jazz stuff that, sort of you want to factor in, because eventually your tools and machines break down, they need to be repaired, need to be replaced, etc. You factor that in as a long-term expense to help pay for those upcoming repairs and replacements. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but if you're not factoring those in, then at the end of the day, you look at that cost and you say, well, we're charging 1,000, our cost was 700, so we made a 30% profit. Well, you didn't get your labor right, so that number's not right either. So you're making much less profit, and you don't really see this until the end of the year when, the final numbers come out and you say, well, we made 30% margin on all these items, we lost on a couple of them, but we only, at the end of the day, we're a $12 million business or a $20 million business, but we only made $500 in total profit. I mean, what the fuck happened? I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist or an MBA, master accountant, whatever you want to call it, but these numbers just don't make sense, and and I get the fact that if everybody raises their prices all at once, you just get into an inflation circle where, you pay people more, they have more money, but goods cost more, so you're charging more, they'll cost more to buy the goods all around, and then money ends up being worth less than it was previously. Not much you can do about that. And I'm not even going to bring, people love to blame the government for everything. It's the government's fault that XYZ exists. And, you give people unlimited liberty, and then it's the government's fault for giving them unlimited liberty. Then you blame the government for restricting liberty because such and such loophole or, a tax advantage played well for certain sectors. I'm not going to get involved with that. That's a completely different conversation. But at the end of the day, we're coming up with new product, okay, which requires money to be invested for research and development, okay? So that money is not coming out of anywhere except your profits. And if you succeed, great. If you fail, what's your margin? What's your margin of error? What's your margin of error? I mean, can you lose $10,000? Can you lose $100,000, $1 million, and still be okay? Well, again, that depends on your profit margin. If you're bringing in, if you're making at the end of the day $100,000 and you lose $10,000, well, you still got, $90,000 of excess profit. Great. Okay, great. That's fine and dandy. But when if you're selling a product that's losing thousands of dollars, and at the same time you're not raising your prices, to keep up with inflation, and you seem to be afraid of trying. No, that's not good. All right, we're gonna go back to the sword. You're afraid to charge extra because you don't think your customers will pay it, but you're not willing to, again, risk that. Say that, well, maybe they are and maybe they won't, And, the big companies that we use their product, I mean, the ones that, I wouldn't say monopolies by any stretch, but, you end up having to choose between, and I know this is a bad example because there's more than just these places, but you end up having to choose between, well, do I want a McDonald's burger, a Wendy's burger, or a Burger King burger? Those are your only choices. Now, I get it. There are plenty of little businesses that do hamburgers that you can go to. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable. But, when you start talking about, say, like, I'm trying to think of something more specific. Our customer wants you to use Cummins motors. Okay. Well, then, the onus is on us to buy Cummins motors. I don't get an option of going to a different vendor. I can try, my sales team can try to say, hey, you know, these motors are going to cost you this amount of money, you know, have that conversation and say, you know, every time these motors go up, so are our prices. But, you know, if Cummins or whoever, you know, whoever's making your motor or making your hose or making your screws or making, you know, your sheet metal, your wood, whatever, if you do not have an alternative, you have to either be willing to have that conversation with your customer saying, if this is what you want, this is what it's going to cost. Or you need to be able to be more flexible with us and allow us to use vendors. And again, this is a lot of this starts becoming R&D related testing, making sure that stuff meets your regulation, make sure it meets your customers' needs. You know, making sure that you're not only finding a product that is cheaper, but is equal quality to what they're looking to do. You don't go out and buy a trailer hitch that's rated for 100 pounds and then get angry at the trailer hitch or the hookup or the ball joint when you want to pull 1,000 pounds and one of those items that isn't rated for that amount breaks. And when I worked for, side story, when I worked for PennDOT, that was one of the things that the guys had trouble getting through their mind, is because there would be a jack that would hook to their truck, there would be a trailer jack that would hook into that connector, and then you would have the pin and the ball joint. Okay, and the answer to the question was, what rating is the lowest of those items? If you've got a trailer hitch and a ball joint and the connector, and they're all different values, what's the lowest value? That's how much you can tow. They had trouble getting that through their head, because they're saying, well, if I've got 1,000 here, 500 here, and 750 here, what's my rating? It's whatever the lowest number is. You're not adding them up and dividing them by 3. Whatever the lowest value is the place where it's most likely to fail. So if this is rated for 500 pounds, it's 500 pounds. If everything else is worth 10,000, it's still the lowest value. Well, I don't know. That's a tangent, side point, unrelated. But we're having a little bit of trouble because a lot of our money is wrapped up in R&D, as they are working on producing a new product which our customers have agreed to buy these products because it'll be useful for them, and we've proven over the last couple years that these are going to work. But the way that we've gone about doing it is we've got some very expensive product that we're developing for them in the ballpark of about $50,000 a pop. Okay? And we've gotten to ourselves to a point where, on the one hand, our customers, and I'm not even gonna get into the contract because I don't believe what they're telling me in regards to the contract, but our customers are not required to put any money down on these very expensive items. They have zero skin in the game, in other words. But when we buy stuff from our vendors say, well, we're going to sell you part of this, like I said, $50,000 item. So we're going to sell you a $10,000, tank or something like that. We're going to make it for you. It's going to be your specifications. Cost you $10,000. We want 50% down or 25% down now, and then you're going to pay the remainder either immediately before we'll deliver it to you, or we will not, in other words, you're paying somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 100% of the price of the product before it hits your floor
then you got to do whatever else you got to do to it, because that's, again, one component over a humongous, you know, assembly, and you're carrying $50,000 of debt per item, and then when you sell it, you're telling your customer, well, we're going to give you 60 days to pay for it. So you carry this huge amount of debt, and then you're unable to pay for your actual day-to-day regular bills that are coming due.
Hooray! Every year we hold a grand harvest festival. Everyone in the land comes to eat and drink and dance. That sounds like fun. You should come too, Ninian. Everyone would be happy to see you dancing, I think. The one you showed me the other day was truly beautiful. Thank you. Mother too loves dancing, you know. She would be pleased. At festival time, she danced all night like a young maiden. Father always chuckled, clucked his tongue, and shook his head, but each year he would dance with her until dawn. Forgive me. You must think of my father often enough. No, it's all right. I mean, not compared to you, Lord Eliwood. Ninian, remember what I told you? Father's death was not your fault. You should not blame yourself, not at all. But Lord Eliwood, you're wrong. You do not know everything that... What? I have been deceiving you. Deceiving? What do you mean? It's just... I'm sorry. Ninian, don't cry. I don't know what has happened, but I do know I never want to see you so sad. So they're at B right now. We're gonna get them up to S here in just a moment. So getting back to what I was saying earlier, like, we've gotten ourselves into a bit of a, like, an issue where, you know, it's if you and your buddy were, you know, you had your own business, you know, you're a tire salesman, a tire repairman. Your buddy says, hey, I can't afford to pay you right now. I'll pay you, you know, when I get paid. And that's fine. And I get it in a traditional business sense. A lot of people pay after 30 days. You know, it gives them time to do what I'm about to explain, which is turn the product, i.e., you get the product in, you do what you got to do to it to make it into the final product, you know, either as part of an assembly or as the final part, or you're reselling the part. And then you have a customer, and they buy it, and they you know, you send it out, and they all make money. You know, I mean, you send it out, and then if you get the product in on Monday, you turn it by Friday, that's 5 days. You know, you're holding on to that debt for 5 days between when your terms had started and when your customers' terms are starting. So you have like a week, per se, of wiggle time where you have to cover a bill before you're expected to receive payment on it. Okay, it's just sort of how the world works, or the way business works. So that ultimately at the end of the day, you know, you'll get paid, they'll get paid, you know, the economy works. Okay, great. But again, the way they did these is we didn't just take any item on, we took an item that is absorbently expensive for the volume of product that we do in a year. And we didn't just do one of them. We did 15 of them this year. Plus other smaller projects that were not as expensive, but were approaching that level of expensiveness, like $25,000 or $10,000. And you do that enough times, and you don't get, you know, you're paying for everything up front, and then you're not getting reimbursed, or you're not getting a 50% down, but you're paying the 50% down to the vendor, and you're 100% fully paid through with them by the time the product hits your dock. And then you're going to not only do that, but you're going to hold on to that product that you have to pay for up front for a month and a half, and then turn it around. Just so frustrated right now with it, because I've gotten to the point where at work we're not paying vendors
because we've already spent all of our money on these prepayments. And we're pushing customers off a week, 2 weeks for payment just so we have a little bit extra wiggle room, and it just drives me up a wall because it's just not how you do business. Not how you do business in the 1910s, and definitely not in the 2020s.
It hurts, these cuts. Fuck it. Everyone has been driven mad by Nurgle. Must be terrifying to lose yourself entirely. Fall completely under the sway of Nurgle's power. Hey, what could this be? Can't be the Fire Emblem? So the madman had it all along. Let's take it and go. We've finally gotten it back. Let's not waste our good fortune. Eliwood, there's no reason for us to stay any longer. I know. Make haste for the Menace. Must stop the assassination. We cannot let the prince's life be put in jeopardy. You know your role, yes. The plan must be carried out tonight. Mother, just once, if for only a little while, may I hold your hand? You know I abhor such displays. I know, but I may not get another chance, and I thought... Very well. Huh? You complete this mission, I'll hold your hand as often as you like. He will even hug you and stroke your face. Oh, really? Then I will do my best. I will succeed. Wait for me, Mother. I will, be careful. Alright, I'll be back. Before, wait a moment. About tonight's mission. What is it? Once you've killed the prince, kill Nino too. What? Assassinations. Both come directly by the king's request. The prince is well loved, and his death will trigger much chaos. If the assassin's not caught and hanged immediately, the chaos will engulf Burn. A scapegoat is needed. Do you understand? Nino's your daughter. She is trash, garbage, human refuse. I'm just happy at last I found use for her. Did she say she would do anything to please her loving mother, did she not? Her death will please me more than her living ever did. What is it? Do you have something to say? This has nothing to do with me. When Lord Nurgle found you as an orphan, he chose you because of your callous heart and your skill with the blade. Lord Nurgle does not give second chances. Do not forgive. Do not forget. Jeez. Alright, we're going to save and get off, and when we come back, we're going to do the next chapter. Until then, I hope you guys have a good one.